open of the season, and that's where you have them finishing.
Yeah, I got that one right.
You did it.
And I'll take it. And again, they're probably the favorite to win it all again, and they should be. We haven't seen the best of the Chiefs yet. We'll see the best of the Chiefs in the postseason. I'm convinced of that. So they started at number one. They finished at number one.
And they got healthier throughout the course of the season. This is a team that found ways to win, got healthy at the end of the season. The best version of the Chiefs, in my opinion, yet to come. Great job on the number one pick there, buddy.
There's a lot of wrong in that. So if I got one right,
you covered your bases in the tops there. You covered your bases.
I did.
All right, so looking at the list, so you have the Bills, the Lions, and the Eagles coming up next at 2, 3, and 4. We're going to move to that number 5 spot, and that's where you have the Ravens heading into the playoffs as one of the best in the AFC. That wild card matchup coming up on Saturday night against the Steelers. Where were you thinking with that?
Well, I thought Lamar Jackson coming off an MVP would have another big season. You add Derrick Henry to the mix. I thought their defense would be significantly better than it was early in the season. We're starting to see the best of the Ravens defense now. So this is the team I expected to see. This is a dangerous team. They can win it all. There's no question in my mind they can go win it all if they can get the pass rush going, which they've done lately.
Yeah, they can do it any number of ways on the offensive side of the ball. And to your point, that defense has come around. And it's not like a group of no-name defenders that are out there figuring out one another's strengths and weaknesses as the season goes on. They have a lot of stars on that defense, and it's not a team you want to get hot defensively if you're the opposition.
We got the graphic up right there, back-to-back MVP. Yay, nay? What do you think?
Well, he's back-to-back. Is he going to be back-to-back-to-back?
Back-to-back.
That's tough for me.
Okay.
I think that, and I'm not going to say who I'm voting for, but it's between him and Josh Allen, no question about it.
Okay.
I don't have a vote, but if I had a vote, I would vote for Josh Allen because even myself picked them as non-Super Bowl contenders at the beginning of the year because of the exodus there, because of the lack of talent relative to the Baltimore Ravens. You look at that Baltimore Ravens roster, that's a team that's star-laden, and Josh Allen has carried the Buffalo Bills.
Here's the thing, 9 Pro Bowlers for the Ravens, 2 for the Bills.
Whoa.
I mean, that matters, and he doesn't have Derrick Henry in his backfield.
I was going to say, what does Derrick Henry bring to the team?
But you can make a case for either one of them, and it wouldn't be wrong. I get it. I understand why it's going to be a tough vote, and I think it's going to be a really close vote, but you can make a case for either one.
They should share it.
Huh?
I don't think you can do that.
They should.
They've shared it before.
Maybe you can do
There is a
that.
precedent there.
Yeah.
Do you know the last time they shared it?
Steve McNair.
There we go. All right, number 6, you have the Minnesota Vikings. You had them at 25 to start. I think everyone's been surprised by this team. So 25 the start of the season. Now at 6, they were in the top 5. They got bumped out after that loss to the Lions. Pete, you're looking for Sam Darnold in that offense to look a little bit better, though, against the Rams, right?
Yeah, and all year we've sat here and we've said, when will Sam Darnold turn into Sam Darnold? And it didn't happen until Sunday night.
Yep.
And Sunday night he looked like Sam Darnold of old. And that's a concern going into the postseason, particularly if you're Sam Darnold. This is your money time. He's a free agent. What do the Vikings do? Do you bring him back? And if you bring him back, do you bring him back on a mega contract? Do you bring him back on a Baker Mayfield plus contract? How do you bring him? Do you even bring him back with J.J. McCarthy sitting there? I think ultimately his future and the money he makes might get decided this week in the playoffs against the Rams.
100%. 100% on that. But I will say this about the Vikings. They were on a historic run there. Sam Darnold playing the best football of his career heading into Week 18, and obviously the collapse versus the division rival there. I think that game tells us more about the Lions than it does the Vikings. Some of these teams and coaches would say, we were better served losing right before the playoffs than rolling that hot streak in. Let's hope Kevin O'Connell can spin zone it that way in the locker room.
Did you ever believe
it's
that?
A spin zone, right?
No, do you ever believe it?
It's all about how well the coach sells it.
Yeah,
Let's see what O'Connell sells it as.
I never want to lose. Never.
Shocking. We're going to go to number 10 now. You got the Bucs in there, your lowest ranking division winner. How concerned are you with the injuries, especially on the defensive side?
That's the most concerning thing right now. I think they can score on anybody. I think they will score on anybody. And they can be a dangerous team. If they were completely healthy in the secondary, I would say this is a team that could create problems for a lot of teams in the NFC. I still think they might be able to. I'd feel much better about it if they were completely healthy in the secondary.
You know what? This offense has been great, and they've had to reimagine themselves week in, week out. Obviously, Godwin goes down. Evans misses some time with the hamstring, but guys like Bucky Irvin stepping up. Liam Cohen has been a fantastic coordinator on on the offensive side of the ball this year for the Bucs. But the strength of that group, it's the offensive line. It's kind of like the theme here in the playoffs. Teams with the good O-lines are doing well.
I love this team in the preseason in large part because it's a great mix of old and young. Their draft has been phenomenal this year. Across the board, talk about Bucky Irvin, Jalen McMillan, a guy I love. The wide receivers really
Big
come
plays.
on. Graham Barton starting in the middle of the offensive line.
Stud.
Across the board, this draft has been out. Tyke Smith playing in the secondary. They've been outstanding in terms of the draft.
We're going to go to number 14 now on your power rankings. And before we let you go, I just want to hear just a quick thought from you also on teams that you thought were going to be doing well and failed, and then the flip side of that too. But number 14, you've got the Houston Texans facing off against the Chargers on Saturday afternoon. That game is going to be on CBS. Pete, is there a team in the playoffs that you have more questions about than the Texans right now?
Probably the Steelers.
Okay.
I mean, I think those are the two teams when you look at it, you say the Steelers and the Texans, both of them have issues. We said today on the podcast, I said, what do the Steelers do really well? They rush the passer, but aside from that, what else do they do well? They don't run it. They're not a good
They finish above 500.
Yeah, well, that's what they do well, but they're still, and you get the postseason, everybody's above 500.
Yeah.
So what do you do? And the Texans have their issues as well. They haven't looked like the Texans. I picked them to win a division. I picked them a little higher than this before the season. But when you look at this team, they've been a disappointment this year. And for all the assets that they added, Danielle Hunter, and get that pass rush going, and they just haven't been the same team. And C.J. Stroud hasn't been the same quarterback.
We like Slowick so much. We loved C.J. Stroud last year. We bring in another guy, Stephon Diggs. Obviously, he gets hurt. Nico Collins was in and out of the lineup. But at the end of the day, you got C.J. Stroud. And when you're a quarterback that's in that elite company, and when you're wearing the crown after we put it on his head last year, you got to be able to elevate your team to new spots. And they haven't done that.
They're a classic example of not having an offensive line and what happens to your offense when you don't.
Kind of important. All right, kickoff for that game's at 4:30 p.m. on CBS on Saturday. All right, so just as a whole, this is your last power rankings of the season, right? What would you say is your biggest flub from preseason, the start, to where we are right now?
The Jets. I mean, I bought in. I thought Aaron Rodgers and that team with the offensive line improvements would be so much better on offense. And I thought defensively they were really good. Then, when you lose the defensive coach who was running the defense and elevate the defensive coordinator, I think you have problems. So the biggest whiff for me from that standpoint was the Jets. And then going back the other way was the Broncos. I didn't see that coming. As good as Coach Sean Payton is, I didn't see it coming.
And for the lack of success that the Jets had this season, you would think it's because of Aaron Rodgers, but that's not the.
Hey there, so the regular season has officially wrapped up for our Chiefs, but man, that last game against the Broncos was, well, not what we wanted, right? A blowout loss isn't how anyone likes to finish, but let's not hit the panic button just yet. You probably noticed Coach Reid had a game plan in mind, resting our starters and giving the backups a chance to step up. Smart move, especially with the playoffs just around the corner. But let's be honest, the results were mixed. Here's my question for you: when you saw those backups in action, did anyone catch your eye? Drop their name in the comments. I'm curious to know who impressed you. Now, even in a rough game like that, there's always something to talk about, and trust me, one player stood out big time. Ready to dive in? Let's keep going. Alright, so here's the deal. When you're up against a team's starters with a lineup full of backups, it's never going to be easy. And that's exactly what happened last Sunday. The Broncos played their starters, while our guys, well, most of them were watching from the sidelines. It wasn't all bad though. The backups had their moments, and honestly, that's what these games are for. It's a chance for those guys who don't usually get the spotlight to prove they've got what it takes when the pressure's on. Sure, there were some rough patches, missed tackles, broken plays, but hey, it's a learning curve, right? And in the middle of all that, there were a few bright spots. Some guys showed grit and determination, taking their chance and running with it. So let's settle this with a quick vote. In your opinion, how did the backups do overall? Thumbs up for impressive or thumbs down for needs work? Let me know in the comments. But now, let's talk about the real star of the show, one player who didn't just take the opportunity, but completely owned it. Ready? Let's shine the spotlight on him next. Alright, let's talk about Blake Lynch. If you're thinking, wait, who's that? Don't worry, you're not alone. Until recently, Lynch was flying under the radar, working hard on the practice squad. But Sunday was his moment to shine. Here's what went down. Lynch got called up to play against the Broncos, and boy, did he make the most of it. Pro Football Focus gave him a grade of 87.3 for his performance, the highest among all Chiefs players in that game. Think about that for a second. A practice squad player topped the charts. That's insane, right? So, what made him stand out? Lynch was all over the field, making tackles, reading plays, and just being a force to reckon with. Even though the scoreboard wasn't in our favor, he proved he's got what it takes when it matters. Now, here's the big question. What's next for Lynch? With the playoffs coming up, he's not expected to see much action unless, of course, something unexpected happens. But let me ask you, do you think he's earned a shot to be a regular contributor next season? Hit the comments and let me know your thoughts. Alright, let's shift gears a bit and talk about why performances like Lynch's are so important, especially during this crucial part of the season. Stick with me, this next part is key. Here's the thing, the playoffs are unpredictable. One injury, one unexpected situation, and suddenly, your backups are the ones keeping your championship hopes alive. That's why performances like Blake Lynch's matter so much. Think about it, depth is what separates good teams from great ones, and the Chiefs, we've got the pieces. Lynch's standout game is a reminder that even our second and third string guys are ready to step up when called. But here's where I want your input. Who do you think could be the next unsung hero for the Chiefs in the playoffs? Maybe a backup running back, a young receiver? Drop your predictions in the comments. As we head into this critical part of the season, every player matters, whether they're starting or waiting for their chance. And speaking of chances, let's wrap this up by reflecting on why moments like this game can define a player's career. So there you have it, Blake Lynch turned a quiet practice squad role into a standout performance. It's moments like these that remind us why every player on the roster matters. Who knows, this could be the start of something bigger for him. Now it's your turn. What do you think of Lynch's performance? And who's your pick for the next breakout star? Let me know in the comments. Before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The playoffs are just getting started and you won't want to miss a thing. Go Chiefs!